Welcome to Virtual Recap. My name is Michael Nolan, and today I'm going to be talking to you about one of my very favorite animals in the entire planet, and one of the most beautiful places to get to watch this animal. And the thing that I would love to talk to you about today is the California gray whale. Now, the California gray whale really should be called the Baja California gray whale because it's both made and born in Mexican waters on the Pacific side of the Baja Peninsula. The California gray whale is an animal that almost came to extinction at least a couple of times in the last couple of hundred years, but it has made an incredible comeback. Now, a little bit about the California gray whale to start with. It's the only member of its genus. It stands alone in a group called the Syrtis. It's a baleen whale. It's a fairly large animal. A female can be pushing 50 feet. They spend their summer times up in the Chukchi and Bering Seas. And then during the winter, they migrate south along the west coast of North America to the Pacific side of the Baja Peninsula. And there we find them in 3 warm water lagoons specifically to reproduce, to breed, and give birth to their calves in these lagoons. So the baleen in a California gray whale is creamy colored. It hangs from the upper jaw. There isn't a tooth at all. There's nothing else in the lower jaw. And this baleen is absolutely growing all the time. When you look at it from the outside, it's very, very thick. It's very, very coarse. So if you look at a baleen plate that hangs from the upper jaw, you would see that it's very, very coarse. If you look to the inside, you'll see that it's very, very fine. And this penny gives you an idea of the difference in the outer coarse part of the baleen and the inner part of the baleen is very, very fine. Now, I mentioned that they come to the warm water lagoons of Baja Peninsula in the wintertime to breed. And they start showing up in November, December, but by January, we really have a good number of them. So as we progress through the season of the California gray whale, we see the composition of the animals within the lagoons changes radically. In the early part of the season, November, December, January, we see couples. We see females and males in courtship. We see mating. We see a lot of this kind of happening. Pregnant females are then starting to arrive on the scene a little bit later, starting to give birth to their calves. December would be early, January, maybe even into February. By about February, late February, the mating is over, the courtship is done. The males leave. They head on their migration north. They want to go back to the feeding grounds, and there's no action left in the lagoon for them. Now, females will hang around if they're pregnant or not, and for a little bit while longer. And then the last ones to leave are absolutely females who have given birth this year to their calves. And moms are preparing them for that 6,000 mile plus journey that they have to make to the Arctic. So they're swimming them, and they're swimming them a lot against the incoming tide, against the outgoing tide. And when moms finally deem that the calves are strong enough and ready to make that migration, they will finally leave the lagoons. They usually pulse in and out of the lagoons, all of the gray whales do, around spring tides. So around new moons and around full moons, when the tidal amplitude is its greatest. This is when the whales will come in and out of the lagoon. Now, there are dangers for that newborn calf on the northward migration, the very first trip it's going to make to the feeding grounds. As it goes along the coast of North America, on the west coast, there are plenty of things that can cause issues. They sometimes get trapped in fishing gear. They can get caught in crab pots, shrimp pots, gill nets, all manner of fishing gear they might end up becoming entangled with. And because they love to run up the coast and stay in relatively shallow water, they're very, very near to all of these activities, these human activities like fishing. Another barrier that they face happens when they get to Monterey Bay. In Monterey Bay, there's a unique situation where a deep marine trench runs right into the shore at Moss Landing as a barrier across their northward migration. They have to cross that trench. Well, wouldn't you know it, killer whales know that gray whales need to cross that trench. And this is a place where they can way live in. 2020 has also been a very interesting year in that we've had over 250 mortalities, gray whales washed up on a shore. Nobody really knows why yet. It's something that's being investigated. Now, we know that the oceans of the world are warming. We know climate change is real. We know it's happening. And we know that it's affecting the feeding grounds of the California gray whale. But absolutely, this is another stressor for gray whales. I hope you've enjoyed this recap. I hope you're healthy and safe and in isolation wherever you are in the world. I hope, like me, that you're dreaming about the places you'll travel to again, and I would love to personally show you California gray whales in the Baja Peninsula.